There's a peace I've come to know, though my heart and flesh may fail. There's an anchor for my soul. I can say it is well. Jesus has overcome.
On this holy evening of Maundy Thursday, we hear the recounting of this story from John's Gospel. All of this is in chapter 13 of John, beginning with verse 1. Now, before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know now what I'm doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but it is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet, he put on his robe and had returned to the table. He said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Well, I thought tonight we would go back to this map of Jerusalem, all around here. And notice what this is. This is the key sites of the Passion narratives. And I'm going to take you around this neighborhood for a little bit and just share with you some places that had something to do with how this evening unfolded. We just heard Jesus sharing with the disciples, and he was sharing with them in the upper room, where he shared the Holy Communion meal with them. Right here, if you see my little red dot, is the upper room traditional location in the city of Jerusalem. All of these are walls of the city of Jerusalem. So it's right back here where he shares the Passover meal with them. After the meal, if you look in Luke's Gospel, Jesus decides to go and pray. They leave the upper room and they go to the Garden of Gethsemane, probably out this gate called the Valley Gate, up to the Mount of Olives, and here is Gethsemane. Jesus went there. It says it was his custom to pray. He would go to the Mount of Olives. You see that on the map. And here is where they were. Now, if you go to Luke's Gospel, it tells the story of how Judas kissed Jesus in this garden and they arrested him. And after the arrest, they took him back through the Mount of Olives, down through here, and probably came in this gate called the Valley Gate. And do you know where they headed after that? They headed right over here to the high priest's house, and that is the house of Caiaphas, the high priest. Notice the proximity of the upper room to Herod's house, and look who his neighbor is, Herod's palace. Very interesting. Now, again, this is the Mount of Olives. This is the Temple Mount. And I want you to look at these steps right here on the side of the temple. And the Antonia Fortress is right here where Jesus kind of stood before Pilate on Friday. Okay, next. So where we were a while ago, we were up here in the Garden of Gethsemane. They came along through the Mount of Olives, and they came on through here, and they went over to Caiaphas' house back through here, like probably this corner there. This is the temple right here. Okay, next. I'm sorry this turned out as dark as it did, but on my... I think your batteries are dead. You know, my batteries went dead. We're talking about that. I'm sorry, I'll talk loud. Ed is going to go get batteries. I want to share with you, this photograph is of my being in the Mount of Olives. This is the Kidron Valley right through here. This now is, this is the wall of the walled city. And this goes around, you see the wall over here, and there are steps. The steps that were in that drawing are steps right there today. Okay, next. I just blew this up to show you again the proximity of the upper room, and this is the high priest's house of Caiaphas, and I'm going to take you there right now. Next. I'm standing on a little hill, and they believe that Jesus walked this path right here, and right there is Caiaphas' house. So I'm standing at these steps where Jesus walked. This over here is the Kidron Valley. Up here is the Mount of Olives. The Garden of Gethsemane was there. And they have a church now that is built right here that used to be Caiaphas' house. Next. Outside the church, this is just a wall of the church, but this is a mosaic. This is done in mosaic tiles. And you see Jesus, and he is in a cell here. After they arrested him, they took him to the cell at Caiaphas' house. And notice how his hands are tied. Okay, next. Notice also, this is another part of this church building. The church is called Cock Crow, because in this vicinity is where Peter heard the cock crow. And you know what Jesus said, after you deny me 3 times, you'll know the cock crow. It's called Cock Crow Church. Now notice right here, Jesus is in the cell, and you see his hands are tied, and look at these ropes. You see this? Okay, now I'm going to take you inside. This is the cell. I'm standing at the bottom in the cell at Caiaphas' house, and I'm in the bottom, and the way I can tell you that is, no, actually, I'm at the top. I'm looking down. You see this light here? There's a light fixture here. I'm at the top looking down. Next slide. Now I'm at the bottom looking up at the light. So you can see why they